I strongly believe that QAnon was and is a psyop to discredit legitimate theories and investigating. Basically the title. Since the beginning of time, people have always thought there was an Illuminati or satanic cabal controlling the world. Remember Bohemian Grove? This is not a new concept at all. But it's like ever since the QAnon BS popped up overnight. The concept became a political thing and has since become something that's taken less seriously than it was before by the NPCs and general masses. 10 years ago, if you said the world was run by Satanists, yeah, the NPCs would still think you're crazy for the most part. But I feel like they would still hear you out. Nowadays, if you say that, you're immediately looked at as an alt-right Nazi QAnon insurrectionist Trumper. Nobody will hear you out at all. Like a machine. As soon as you say anything about who really runs the world or child trafficking, they respond with all the BS. These very serious things should not be a political thing. The QAnon stuff was created to discredit anyone who starts thinking and asking questions about it. Notice how nobody uses the word Illuminati anymore or talks about it. That's because QAnon is the Illuminati theory that's been around for years. It's just muddled with political bullshit and falsehoods. Underneath all the blatant BS though, it's the same thing people have said for years and the same thing Alex Jones uncovered in the 90s. The ones who really run the world behind closed doors are satanic pedophiles. And they created QAnon so that you're dismissed for saying that at all. Edit, as someone in the comments pointed out, you also never run into QAnon stuff online yourself. In conspiracy-related forums, like this one or above top secret, you never find it. Almost as if it's manufactured and not even real. Like a psyop. Where do you hear all of QAnon's rhetoric? MSM. You're mad. We get it. But don't do anything in fact. Don't even leave your home, be a digital warrior and do your part by watching YouTube videos and posting on social media. Someone else is going to fix this for you. And they're on your side. Help them win by staying at your computer desk. Or on your couch with your phone most of all. Don't do anything. Please don't do anything. Q. It was a psyop to keep everyone staying home and trusting a plan. Imagine if Q told 1 million people to protest the CIA FBI instead of staying home. QAnon was political propaganda meant to keep Trump voters on board. I think it started as a troll and was then infiltrated by feds and used as a psyop to muddy the waters around real conspiracies and to discredit them as well as misdirect. Many people have thought that insane conspiracies are promoted to discredit real ones, birds not being real, the earth being flat, etc. Of course, stating that Democrats and Republicans or left and right are basically the same predators that prey for citizens' money and generally wealth and power. It was obvious all along. Anything about the pedo elites? QAnon shills made that up. Anything about laundering money? QAnon shills made that up. Trump was of course installed and did the things that he was meant to. There are no coincidences. Agreed. QAnon accomplished nothing. Aside from placating the not-so-critically thinking conspiracy crowd and turning them into Republicans. Funny you said the false MSM term QAnon, which is part of the disinfo op against Q, drops instead of the two separate categories of Q and Anons. Ironically, you haven't legitimately investigated. QAnon is literally a hypnotic Q word. Anytime something is connected to QAnon, your mind will unconsciously judge something with a particular impression. Most likely mockery, contempt, and rejection. It's obviously some kind of hypnosis or NLP programming that is being used on the masses. It's a cue to instantly reframe and distort perception of reality. The only person keeping me on board with it is Dan Scavino. I follow a guy on IG that shows his posts and Dan's timestamps still line up with the Q posts. I feel like it started out as a normal Chan LARPer. Hence the ridiculous HRC indictment prediction and HRC detained in the first couple posts. But then at some point the Trump campaign co-opted it somehow to cultivate a base of unfalteringly loyal supporters. I think you're a psyop to discredit Q. Only feds and the media call anything canon. Definitely. Look at the loonies. The biggest joke is that QAnon doesn't even exist. That is a term MSM made up. It's just Q because the guy allegedly had a Q clearance, which is the civilian equivalent of top secret. Q was created to gloss over Trump's failures as president and his full head-on indulgences with the swamp in D.C. Remember, Trump ran as an anti-establishment who would not rest until Hillary was in jail but governed like John McCain after becoming president. To cover up this fact, his team and handlers came up with Q and painted him as a successful genius playing 4D chess with the establishment. Where do you find canon stuff? The only time I see it referenced is in MSM, and when I look on conspiracy-related outlets there's nothing. Smells deep statey. Yep, pretty much this. But do you know what zero deltas are? Where Q and Trump would post within the same minute of each other and the direct nod between the Q post and Trump's tweets within the zero deltas. We know what you mean, but technically there's no canon. There's Q and then there's anons. The media says canon to intentionally misrepresent what it actually is. The problem with the psyop theory is that the Q posts continually said to do your own research as supposed to telling you what to think, which is what psyops do. And it mostly asked questions for people to come up with their own answers. It also constantly said don't trust the media, which would be counterproductive if it was a psyop by the globalists. Because the media is their main brainwashing mechanism. Yeah. 7 years ago I have to assume some three-letter agency was paying attention to FBI Anon on 4chan. And decided to create something that tricked a lot of people. 100 agreed. Especially considering how many politicians take advantage of that. Also, it is so vague in the mainstream's conscious that every legitimate Jepstein questioning or similar is just reduced to Q nut. Remember when Suckerturd showed off his jacket in that interview? Think of the computer capabilities that dude has. Long before Q and long before Trump's presidency, there was conspiracy theorist who floated around in the darker corners of the conspiracy net. Like old school ATS back in 2008. His name is Benjamin Fulford. I always thought it was a bit odd that an ex-Forbes reporter would give up his career to deliver Q. Like information years before Q was even mentioned, including extraterrestrial influence on geopolitics. By the time Q came around, I had basically heard it all before. Does anyone else remember this?